Matt, Rorie, how much do you miss working at Obsidian Entertainment?
I miss it quite a bit.
Yeah? How like...
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, every day. You wake up every morning with the burning desire to head back to SoCal.
It was no,
and
not
make
quite
role-playing
that.
games again?
I didn't like living in SoCal, but I did enjoy working at Obsidian Entertainment Incorporated.
Well, you're in luck today.
Excellent.
We've brought Obsidian to you. Josh Sawyer is here.
Hello.
How you doing, man?
Doing well. How are you?
Very good. Very
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
good. We are about to look at your game. So let's look at your game.
Cool.
Yeah, Pillars of Eternity. I mean, you guys ran a wildly successful Kickstarter.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
A year and a half ago.
Okay.
Right? Ish.
And,
Sure.
And you're somewhere around, so it's all a blur at this point, right?
Yeah.
Well, you guys have gone through, what, 90 updates? Like weekly updates?
We're close. We're over 80 right now, but yeah, we're pretty close to 90.
Thanks, Steve.
Does that take a lot of time? Like doing all the backer updates? Like,
yeah, it takes.
It's like every week.
Yeah, it takes a long time. We moved to bi-week or once every 2 weeks doing updates, but we're slowing down a little bit now because we're kind of in the final push. We're in beta right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, now we're just trying to settle in and get everything done.
You're opening this up to backers pretty soon for the beta, correct?
Yes. The backer beta is coming August 18th.
Awesome.
It's right after Gamescom. And is Gen Con around there, Brandon? I don't know why my voice just went up. But yeah, it's after Gen Con and Gamescom.
I'm asking a question in an inquisitive tone of voice.
So I haven't seen the character creation yet. I don't know if you want to talk about stuff that's on the screen as we bring it up, but I've read a fair number of the updates, but not all of them. So it looks like I know the Cypher is kind of the soul wielding class, explain the magic system, I guess.
The magic. So we have a lot of traditional classes in the game. So we have fighters and rogues and wizards and priests, and they're kind of the core four. But then we also have less traditional like ciphers, enchanters. Ciphers are, I guess the closest equivalent would be psionicists in D&D. So they use weapon attacks to build focus, and then they use the focus to actually cast their spells. So it's more of a spell point based system, and they're a mixed weapon based and caster type class.
Cool.
So they're pretty fun. And then attributes. Right now we're making a barbarian. So Brandon was just going through all the attributes. Again, we wanted to be fairly traditional with a lot of this stuff, so we have a standard sort of array of 6 stats. But we've tried to balance them so that no matter what build you make, there's something cool you can sort of take out of it regardless of class. So for example, Brandon built a high intellect barbarian, and intellect in our game affects the size of your area of effect, and it also affects the durations of everything that you use. So barbarians, their frenzy and their wild sprints will have a longer duration if they have a high intellect, and also their AoE damage with their melee attacks will go up if they have a high intellect. So
does that mean within reason, like there is no bad character build?
Yeah, that's really our goal, is to not have bad character builds, and more importantly, like if you have an idea like I want to play a muscle wizard that's a huge fucking idiot, like okay, you can do that. You can I swear, by the way?
Yeah, please.
Okay,
please.
Cool. So
I hope so.
So yeah, you can make a muscle wizard that's a huge idiot. You can make a super smart fighter or clumsy rogue or whatever. And depending on your stat build, you still have to play to the strengths of those stats. But we tried to make it so that the attributes give bonuses to all the classes in different ways.
Now, can you use female voices on male characters? Did I see that as an option, or is that just a bug?
I think you probably will be allowed to in the long run. It defaults to, like, it sort of just defaults and filters to whatever. But
I'm all favor. I'm egalitarian in that.
Yeah, well, and also you can import your own portraits and stuff like that.
Cool.
So
you had some Kickstarter backers who had played enough; they kind of got a portrait, right?
Yeah. There are a couple of our big backers. We've already shown some of them in our updates.
Cool.
Kaz Aruga did some really cool looking portraits for them. So
this UI just brings me right back to Baldur's Gate 2.
No problem. Get the feels.
Yeah.
So yeah, we really tried to make sure that, I mean, obviously it's not exactly the same, but we wanted to really go with a very similar style in terms of our user interface, like having a skeuomorphic GUI and stuff like that.
You guys haven't planned at all for any kind of console stuff for this? It's all been PC from the ground up, I'm assuming?
It's all been focused on PC, Mac, and Linux. We did goof around for a little while. We put it on a Windows 8 tablet just to see how it would run. It actually ran pretty well. But it's really designed around keyboard and mouse play.
Thumbs up.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, we're just showing some like store stuff and inventory. Yeah, all this stuff is still in progress, but it's getting pretty close to final for us.
So he has 2 weapon sets now, and he's got one with a spear and one with dual wielding, it looks like?
Yes, dual wielding.
Cool.
So with the weapons, we try to make sure that all the... I don't want to have any trash options. Basically, sure. That'll be a recurring trend. So if you want to make your idiot wizard who's a muscle wizard or whatever, if you want to have a guy who dual wields daggers or something, we try to balance those things out so that, for example, dual wielding battle axes, it's a very fast attack rate and you have a high crit damage. Pikes, which is the other weapon that the barbarian has, you can attack at range with them, and they do a lot of damage per hit. So each of the weapons, kind of just depends on like what sort of character you want to play.
Dang. You got boned.
Oh yeah,
boned, but
wolves have knockdown. So Kalisha the fighter there just got. Why don't you knock? Oh, Brandon, just knock him down. Oh my God.
Do you have the option?
It's a slaughter. Oh my God.
Do you have the option to pause after every combat turn, or is combat turn really a thing in this game?
We do have the option to pause. There are lots of auto pause options,
sure.
And one of them is pause every X seconds.
Okay.
So if you want to set that to 6,
sure.
That's the closest. That's basically you're putting it on rounds like it was in the old Infinity Engine game. So.
Your characters gain more attacks per second as they level up, or?
No, it's usually based off of the attack speed of the weapon. So, for example, like the bigger weapons like battle axes and stuff like that tend to attack a little slower. The two-handed weapons also attack slower. Weapons like hatchets and clubs and daggers and stilettos and rapiers, those are all fast weapons, and so they have a faster attack rate.
Let me know if I'm like interrupting everything you want to say.
I figured we were just going to kind of cruise around.
Technical questions about this game is what I really have.
Yeah, so what you're seeing here is the intro of the game, and we're just doing some sort of like exploration and trying to find a character who went missing right now.
What's the backstory for the beginning of the game?
The backstory for the beginning of the game is, so this world is one that we made up. It's called Aora. It's a fantasy setting that we developed at Obsidian. And the area of the world you're going into is called the Eastern Reach, and it's a colonial region. Has lots of old ruins in it, and a lot of the colonists like to try to plunder those ruins. But the locals regard them as sacred, and they try to kill people who go in the ruins. And here they come, and they're really mad. And surprise, they're going to try to murder you. So yeah, you're actually free to define your character's background. You have a lot of options in the beginning of the game to define where you came from and what you were doing before you came here. But that's sort of like just the pretext for how you get drawn into the story. But yeah, that's the general setup.
Yeah, I wanted to ask during the character creation if the background choice manifests later on.
Yeah, so when you pick your background, where you're from, and what you're, I was a slave, I was an aristocrat, whatever. Kalisha, your partner here, she asks you about, what were you doing? Like, oh, I heard you were a slave. Like, how did you get away? And blah, 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 blah.
So it's kind of minor character development.
Yeah, it's just minor character development stuff. It goes into your character bio, and then occasionally it will come up in your dialogue. It's not like a super major thing, but it does come up every once in a while.
Very well.
How do you regen health in this game after a fight?
All right, so we're going to change the UI for this a little bit.
Can you zoom in on any of this by any chance?
You can zoom in and zoom out a little bit.
Cool. Oh, okay. That's cool.
So actually, one thing I'll comment is we're going to change the UI and the feedback for this just a little bit. Boom, there goes Wild Sprint, Barbarian, booking it. So you'll see the red on the portrait that goes down from top to bottom. That is what we currently call stamina. We're probably going to change the name of that to endurance, and that's short-term health. If it hits 0, you get knocked out in the fight. Then the green bar that's to the left of the portrait, that is health, and that is long-term damage.
Sure.
So you can get knocked down in a fight, you can get pretty badly damaged, and you can get taken out, but you're not killed. Once that green bar hits 0, then your character is either maimed, or if you're on a higher difficulty setting, you're immediately killed.
Are there any specialties on character creation for non-lethal damage, like people just punch and knock people out?
There are monks. They don't knock people out; they just murk them. But no, monks do really good unarmed damage. They can also use weapons really well if you want to play them that way. But even if you go unarmed with them, they just get automatic unarmed bonuses.
If character is completely killed, like on the higher difficulty, like you mentioned, I mean, are they out? Are there ways to res them?
No, they're deed.
Wow.
So it's actually not as punishing as you might think, because in the Infinity Engine games, you basically just had your one main hit point pool. When you hit 0, you were dead.
Yeah.
So here, you can get knocked out, you're out of the fight, you can get revived and stuff like that. But
didn't the D&D games go to -10 or something, or was that before that? I forget.
Now you're making me question it. I thought it just went to 0. I don't think they went all the way down.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. But yeah, you have that buffer. You have that health that's slow ticking down, and if you rest, your health will come back.
Sure.
You can't heal it with magic. You have to rest. Oh no, it's bad.
This looks ominous.
Scary.
If it's purple, it's usually like arcane in some way.
Yes, you're right. Good eye. The eye of a RPG player. So yeah, what you're seeing right here is a Biowick, which is called it means soul wind, and it actually tears the soul out of your body. So not super chill.
That sounds bad.
Yeah. So you're trying to escape right now and run inside, and your bro here, Hayden, he gets pulled down by one of the defenders. And so you have some choices.
What do these choices feed into? I mean, does that come up later in the story?
They feed into coolness.
Do events branch or anything like that?
Yeah, they do. So these interactions, these are called scripted interactions, and they're just illustrated cool time, like little story things. And sometimes they're more just like a different way of telling illuminating a sort of sequence of events. A lot of times they branch though, and you have a lot of different ways through that. In that sequence, depending on your character class and the equipment you have with you, you can try to free Hayden in different ways, or you can try to just let him get free on his own. And by the way, like characters can die in this opening. Like Hayden can get wasted, Kalisha can die. Makes it a lot harder, but yeah, we're definitely designing this for more challenging traditional style of play.
Are you able to make? You make one character at the beginning. Is there a co-op in the game from the start? Or
there's no co-op, but so you start with one character. Obviously, you have Hayden and Kalisha right now. They're temporary companions. Later on, you find other companions that are sort of traditional Obsidian story companions. Sure. You don't have to take them if you don't want to, though. You can also, at various places in the game, you can buy. And by buy, I mean you pay a certain amount of copper, which is our main currency, and then you can build your own adventurers. Cool. So if you want to make a more Icewind Dale style party over the course of the game, you can just build them that way.
So it's kind of like unlimited mercenaries you can recruit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're just kind of like, they use normal voice sets and portraits and stuff. They obviously don't have the story elements that the companions do. But some people, like every once in a while, you'll always find someone, even people who really love BG2, they're like, oh, I love BG2, but I hate Animan, or
Aemon?
Animan? Jeez Louise, why can't I say anything? I'm going to switch to Viconia. I can't stand Viconia. And so, but we want to give them the option. If you're like, well, if you really want to make a different type of cleric or something, you just don't like her, you can do that.
So the min-maxers are going to have their abilities to
yeah, if they want to do that, that's totally cool.
What was that all-Drow party from Icewind Dale 2? Sisters of the Rose or something like that?
Yeah. So actually, Icewind Dale 2, we all made, each designer, there was a requirement. Every designer could make an adventuring company, but they had to beat the game with that party.
Oh, wow. That's actually a good rule.
Yeah, I made the Hands of Fury, and then there was, I think I think you're right, Sisters of the Rose, who are the Drow adventuring company. I think there was a Dwarf adventuring company.
I think there was one that was all gnomes, too.
Yeah, something crazy like that, but yeah, good times. So that floor puzzle that you saw earlier, there are a number of ways that you can get by it. So I think the last time we showed this at E3, we actually took a way around it entirely. You can circumvent the puzzle. You can also use if you have Hayden in the party at this point, you can use his mechanics skill to identify where the traps are and try to sneak around or disarm them. Right now we're trying to light all these little torches to remove some of the hostile glyphs that are on the floor. And to do that, we're using tools we found. We're using flint and tinder and torches to light them up. So yeah, there are a lot of different ways that you can actually complete this puzzle or circumvent it.
Does your ability to interact with stuff like that ever hinge on, like perception or some other stat like that?
Yeah, sometimes some of those interactions you need a certain stat. A lot of times it's equipment-based or skill-based. So it all just depends on the specific interaction.
Memories. So I saw that red circle out there. Kind of, you have the ability to see enemies before they react to, I assume.
Yeah. Usually they're right at the very edge of the fog of war.
Can you cast your AoEs onto them to get the first shot in?
You may.
I do enjoy that.
Yeah, and by the way, a lot of this UI stuff, I just want to say because I know that our backers are very particular about UI stuff. So, for example, those floating HUDs over the characters, the combat HUDs, that's something that's like a new sort of convenience feature. It wasn't in the IE games. We included it because it just makes feedback a lot clearer. You can turn it off though. Some players don't like seeing that stuff. They'd rather just see the characters in the field.
So there'll be options to adjust the UI. Are there also any plans for like mods or anything like that? And people are going to make them anyway.
People are going to make them anyway. We're trying to make our data formats very open for people to modify. Also, another thing I wanted to say is the UI on the bottom there, all the floating panels. We're also going to have a unified, solid UI down there because a lot of people have had a preference. They really want it to look like the old games and be solid all the way across.
A third of the screen taken up by UI.
Yes, basically.
How ornate is the stonework going to be on that full UI bar?
Pretty ornate.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we did find is there's a very strong preference for skeuomorphic GUIs. Sure. So people like seeing things that they look like they're made out of stone or wood or metal or things like that. All of the Infinity Engine games had you know, skeuomorphic GUIs that looked like they were made of things. Here's cloaks. Everyone loves cloaks.
I do like cloaks.
Your cloak. There you go. Show it off.
Have the option to turn it on or off?
No, there's no option to turn off your cloak. Why would there be an option to turn off your cloak?
I kind of wanted to talk to you about the visual tech in general. I mean,
sure.
First of all, did I see the Unity launcher back there?
Yeah, it's Unity.
So you guys are built on top of that. And so I mean, everything is more or less 2D assets, right? Except maybe the characters?
The characters are 3D.
Okay.
The visual effects and everything are 3D.
Okay.
The water, whenever we don't have any water in here right now, but water stuff is all 3D.
Okay.
And then, yeah, everything else is 2D, and we just use some special rendering tech that we developed internally to do all the sorting and everything so that the characters occlude properly when they go behind stuff.
Was the just kind of the general philosophy when you started out just sort of like pretend the games never went 3D, that like just the Infinity Engine kept evolving for the last 15 years?
We were trying to find, you know, just we really wanted to make it look and feel a lot like the old games. Obviously 3D characters gives us a lot of flexibility though, and when we looked at Elemental Evil was a really great game. And they did
we were just talking about that.
Yeah, they did a great hybrid of 2D and 3D stuff, and it worked out really, really well. So we knew we wanted to have some 3D stuff, but the backgrounds we wanted to make sure were fully rendered and you know, fully pre-rendered. Sorry.
That game still has one of my favorite AOE casting selector wars where you can see.
Yeah, we also do. We also have our AOE. They're temp right now, but we also do have our. It'll show you exactly what the AOE of your spell and stuff is going to be. So yeah, we made our way out of the ruins.
So that spider there was glowing purple for some reason. Was that an effect? Or
I think somebody hit him with an effect, either, or maybe it was flanked. I can't remember. But yeah, a lot of times when you hit a character with a special condition or status effect.
Yeah, this looks super nice. Oh, there's more of that purple.
More purple.
So you mentioned flanking. I'm assuming attacks of opportunity.
Yeah, we have what they're called disengagement attacks in this. But yeah,
initiative, that kind of stuff, or is this?
There's no initiative, but because it's all kind of, it's all in real time. But
late title card.
These guys are the heroes of the game, right? Those little monks down there.
Who can say? Do they look heroic to you? When you see guys in robes chanting, do you assume that they're heroes or maybe bad guys?
I don't know. Was that the?
That's it, man.
Oh man.
Oh man.
I have so many more questions now.
I know. Well,
You can ask more questions.
Maybe you should make another
look at this
type
beautiful.
What if you were to make another type of character and then Rorie can keep talking?
It's up to you guys sometime.
Is that within the PR plan to see more characters? Come on, one more.
Is there something why don't you make a fighter or something? Yeah, I'll make a fighter. Make a death god-like fighter.
Man, yeah. Now I feel pressured to like ask so many more questions. So how are you? Do you guys feel positive about the Kickstarter thing? Is that something you want to experiment with in the future?
No, no, it's gone really well. Yeah, It's been a very good experience. I've been saying I started at Black Isle as the webmaster and the forum moderator for the Planescape Torment website. So a lot of the people who are our backers, I've been talking to for like 15 years now.
So do you actually recognize specific names?
Oh, of course, yeah. There's tons of people that have been on our forums talking to us, and they're backers now, which is really awesome. And yeah, so I mean, the experience, a lot of people said like, wow, talking directly to fans, what's going on? It's like, I'm just very used to it at this point. And the only difference now is obviously it's very early in the process. They're talking to us, you know, right away.
Sure.
And so that's different and everything like that. But it's the same sort of back and forth that we always have. They have very high expectations, and we try to meet those expectations as well as we can, even knowing that it's not a unified voice that's talking out there.
Well, it's always tough when you have people who have 3 different ideas about what should be done, and you have to ultimately you have to go with what you feel is best for the game. But we see it all the time here. Not in the same way, but we always have site features and stuff that people care very strongly about, and sometimes are tougher to do than other times. So what is a godlike? Is that a race?
Yeah, it's sort of you can actually mix godlike with any of the races. You can make like an Orlin or a dwarf godlike as well. Godlike are people that folks believe that they were touched by the gods, and they're born and they're deformed. Some might say they look like magical or blessed, but a lot of people are scared of them. Obviously, they're very weird looking. All godlike are very strange looking, and so people tend to have strong reactions to them. But yeah, they're the equivalent, if you played in Forgotten Realms, they're equivalent of Tieflings or Aasimar or Ganassi. So they're kind of our weirdo race.
Are the gods like a present force in this world, or is it kind of?
Yeah, it's when we started making this campaign setting, we decided, we should have the gods be kind of like a big deal in these people's lives. In some ways, they're very remote. They make themselves known in kind of cryptic and weird ways sometimes. One of the events in this world that transpired not that long ago was called the Saints' War, where one of the gods, Aethys, essentially possessed or somehow took control of a man in the world named Widewin, and they called him Saint Widewin, and he started a holy war that ended with him being literally blown up by a big magical bomb. So, a giant bomb, if you will. So yeah, the gods are pretty important in this setting, as are souls. Souls are a big deal. Reincarnation is a big deal in this world. A lot of people don't really, people believe in reincarnation. They understand aspects of how it works, but they don't fully understand it. They believe it's under the control of the gods, though. So we wanted to have some elements that are not really fully understood about metaphysical reality of the world.
What was I going to say? I totally forgot.
I don't know what you were going to say.
I don't know what I was
Sorry,
gonna
I
say.
can't help you.
Any plans to go, publish any kind of the backstory of the world or novels or anything like that? I'm sure.
What's your transmedia strategy?
Well, Chris Avalon is going to be writing a novella.
No shit.
Yeah, so that was actually part of the Kickstarter. And I'm trying to think if we have anything else that's sort of like... No, nothing outside of what was planned in the Kickstarter.
Is he also a primary writer on the game?
Yeah, he's writing some companions in the game.
Okay.
So...
How big is the team overall? Like, I'm kind of curious. I mean, I forget exactly what you guys landed at on the Kickstarter.
What is it now, Brandon? How big's the team? Low 30s,
oh, wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So we started very, like a dozen people or something like that, so now it's low 30s.
Now, speaking of, go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say, I mean, it's kind of it's a weird perception issue since Kickstarter became a big thing of, oh, you guys got what, $3 million or whatever it was, like you should be able to make, promise us the moon with that, right? But
Just over 4. That's still probably the lowest budget Obsidian game.
Yeah, like the reality of what it costs to make games is like so much more stringent than that.
It's expensive. But I mean, we've been able to do a lot of cool stuff, I think, so far. I hope people get the feels. I hope they really feel like this is a worthy successor to the IE games.
You mentioned we were chatting before this. You mentioned there's still like some temp VO and stuff in this build. Like, are you going after like for the final VO? Or are you going after like maybe specific actors that were in those old Infinity games?
We haven't started casting yet right now, but I mean, the Infinity Engine games never really had a ton of VO, so we'd rather have a smaller amount of VO and higher quality.
Okay.
We rely a lot more on just the written text and the narration and stuff like that, rather than, or sort of the internal monologue the player has. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Avalon before as well, and you guys are kind of, I've been seeing a lot of back and forth between you and In Exile and their projects, so they're also doing a couple Kickstarters as well.
Yeah.
Is that, I'm just curious about the specifics of that, is that just kind of go off and do your thing for a little while and come back when you can, or is it kind of you guys are keeping track of who's going where? It seems like there's a lot of like overlap between your work, especially your creative staff now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've worked with... maybe not literally all the people that are working on Numenera right now, or Torment, sorry. But I mean, like I worked with George Zeitz, I worked with a little bit with Adam Heinenbach at Black Isle. Kevin Saunders also worked at Obsidian. So, and then Colin McComb back at Black Isle as well. So, yeah, I mean, we're really familiar with those guys. We're also sharing technology with them for Torment. Yeah, so it's been a pretty good relationship so far.
Neat. I'm looking forward to all those games. So Wasteland 2 is probably going to be the first one to come out of all the Kickstarter stuff you guys are working on?
Pretty sure. I'm not working on Wasteland, but I'm looking forward to playing it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a real renaissance of this type of game all of a sudden. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, Kickstarter is a big part of that.
Yeah,
so.
Obviously, yeah.
And Divinity is the same way, too.
Playing a lot of Divinity lately, like this coming out, like the NXL stuff you mentioned.
Yep. Divinity came out right as we were starting to prep for this demo, so unfortunately I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I've heard very good things about
Pretty good.
These knockdowns just seem to be kind of a brutal thing here. How far away can your characters get in combat? Is it a point where it just...
No, I mean, you can wander anywhere on the map. It's just like the IE games. I mean, you're not camera restricted or anything like that. Yeah, right now we're playing 2 fighters, so they tend to be very knockdown happy.
Sure.
This is looking really good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. I guess we won't make you finish this entire demo a second time, but
no worries.
Is there anything else you want to close with before we get out of here?
No, just as always, thanks for having us, and thanks to all the backers who helped make this possible. We wouldn't have been able to make a game like this without their help, and we hope that what you're seeing is, giving you a good feeling about the direction we're going in, because we really want you to have that sort of classic feeling you had when you played Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, and Torment.
And if they hate it, tweet directly to Josh Sawyer.
Or Matt Rorie.
That's at Frail Gesture on Twitter. And then you guys are targeting before the end of the year, right?
Yeah, winter of this year.
Okay. Very good, very good. Well, Josh, thanks a lot for coming by.
Thanks for having us, guys.